Right, we move to the type 6 called the loyalist. And there are different labels used on the loyalist, the loyal person, devil's advocate. So what does that mean? The loyalists on the not so good side tend to be the most pessimistic of the 9 types, and they tend to ask a lot of questions. They are inquiring, they are curious, they tend to leave no stones unturned. So that's also a good thing, right? So hence, in asking questions, they are problem solvers, but they tend to believe that sometimes people may not be trusted. So that's why they trust themselves a lot to get things done properly and to make sure that other people do what they're supposed to do. Trust can be a big issue. Like I think for sixes, trusting other people can be difficult. And when that happens, they sometimes will make sure that systems and processes and are all in place. And so when sixes tend to think that maybe people may not do what they're supposed to do, they tend to ensure that systems and processes get settled and sorted out properly. Now, the unconscious childhood message is it's not okay to trust yourself, which means sometimes when they don't trust themselves, they tend to get very prepared or overly prepared, as in there's always like a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D. Could be good. And the not so good part is they'll start to worry that whatever has been planned out may not actually manifest. So not trusting the self can require that the 6 gets very prepared. Now, some of the gifts of the 6: loyalty is important, trustworthiness, they are prepared, responsible, strategic, very sharp. I must admit they are mentally very alert. In fact, that radar always works. The mental radar is always looking out for who is not going to show up, what's not going to happen, where are things going to fail, where are things going to flop. So there's always this thing where, yes, sixers can be very ready for disaster and crisis. In a disaster or crisis situation, the sixers are the most prepared because they would have prepared for disaster. When overused, yes, you'll get all those different qualities: suspiciousness, worrying, just wondering when is the first disaster going to happen. Hence, the need for guidelines is important. The need for rules is important so that everyone, or it becomes more predictable. Now, when the 6 is relaxed, they go to 9, and that means they can let things go because the 9s are relaxed, they are easygoing, they're calm. But when the 6 starts to get stressed up, they become very task oriented, they become very focused on making sure tasks get completed, and they can be quite transactional in that sense. So some things to remember the 6 by is, number 1, they have a kind of perspective where you're guilty until proven innocent. So make sure you come in prepared, make sure you come in being very ready to answer yourself. They're alert to danger and threats, which is why in a crisis situation, when it comes to risk, they know how to manage their risks. Counterphobic, driven by fear. Some sixers are not phobic. They can fight their fear by going head on. And some sixers are phobic, which means they're always worried, they're scared, they may be a bit insecure that something bad may happen. Multiple precautions, that's about planning for disaster and making sure that they've got an alternative plan ahead of them. Reliable, dependable, tradition and system is important. They're very traditional in that sense. They look out for practices from the past and they want to follow practices which work. So safety and predictability is important. Dealing with fear, I think fear is a constant emotion which happens for the sixes. So they are constantly thinking about what is not going to happen, which creates fear. So fear and insecurity are big features for the 6. Serial doubter, what does that mean? I think doubt is a big practice of the 6s. They tend to doubt things, but one way it can actually help people is that you doubt it until it works. Serial doubter just simply means someone who frequently doubts. And in a way, it can be useful because when we doubt, we get more prepared. So these are 8 anchor points for you to recall what the 6 may be like. It can sound a little negative, but the good part, believe me, is that they're actually very sociable. They communicate well, and they're very alert, very ready, very alert, very intuitive. So hence having them on your team, basically things get done, things get completed. And these are people who are great gatekeepers, gatekeeper of the rules, great gatekeepers of completion of work. So lots of good qualities as well.